Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Peter here. Today's video is Mendittorosa. It's called Le Mat. This was given a recent 5-star review in the Luca Turin book, classed as a masterpiece. So I had a sample of it already, so I've been wearing it a few times to give it a go. I like it, but we'll get into a review. So when I first spray it, I've just sprayed it on my hand now. You get a mix of things straight away. It's a mix of floral and earthiness, and spice and muskiness. So I get a little bit of geranium in the opening, which is kind of like a slightly piercing citrus quality, like a floral note. There is rose in here, but it comes out more after like 10-15 minutes after the geranium feels more like a top note, or it hits you first anyway. But you get spice straight away. There's nutmeg in here, you definitely smell that. It's slightly warm, spiced, it's nice. And you get a muskiness. I think there's some clean kind of musks in here and a touch of synthetic cashmerein. Cashmerein is a note that gives this kind of very soft, smooth, almost like I visualize it as like a grey satin sheet that just kind of floats in a musky kind of way. It can have slightly metallic nuances to it in a way at some certain points. It's not particularly a note that I enjoy personally, but you smell it in here. But it has this muskiness to it, it has a spice to it, and it has a floral nature. There's immortelle, which gives it this lovely sweetness. It's almost like a caramelized slight note. So it's floral, it's caramelized, ever so slightly sweet because of that immortelle. It's spiced with a nutmeg, and it's musky with this cashmerein accord. As it dries down, the rose comes out more. After like 15-20 minutes, the rose, you can smell the rose more. And it's a lighter rose. It's not too dark or thick. It feels, well, actually, it feels like a rose replacer. It reminds me of something like Rose Gifco by Givaudan. It smells more like a watery pink rose to me, rather than like a Bulgarian Rose Absolute, for instance. But it smells nice. It works well. But there's this note of patchouli in the background, which is always there. From the beginning to the end, you have this note of patchouli, and it's more of an earthy kind of patchouli. It's subtle, but it's there. And patchouli is a note personally that I don't like. So it's not a fragrance that I can see myself purchasing, but I would definitely recommend checking out to other people. For me, there's two elements of it that I don't like. I don't like the cashmerein vibe, and I don't like the earthy patchouli because I'm just not a patchouli fan. But if you don't care about those things, you might really enjoy this fragrance. I do think it's very well blended. There isn't really much change to the fragrance. It's kind of it feels like an accord that you get in the opening, and it just stays that way the whole way through and just slowly fades away. No dramatic twists and turns with this one, in my opinion. Very well done. It definitely smells nice. I noticed, I had a quick look at the Perfumey, what she's done in the past, and I noticed there's another fragrance that she's done before years ago that has very much a similar structure. It has rose, it has immortelle, it has patchouli, and it has cashmerein. So this is obviously a combination that the perfumer is attracted to, and kind of she's been tweaking this for a while, obviously. And she's obviously hits on a good one in this particular version of it. But she's done this kind of thing before with the same combination of notes, which is interesting. It's obviously something that she likes. In terms of performance, on me, I was getting between 6 and 8 hours, but from reading other people's opinions, people seem to get a lot longer than me. I don't know why that is. Maybe I've just got poor skin chemistry with this one. But people seem to be getting a lot longer, so take that with a pinch of salt. You might get a lot longer than me. I don't think there's anything wrong with 6 to 8 hours though. It performed fine. Projection was modest, and that's pretty much it. It has an almost slight powdery quality, and I think that's just the immortelle. but it does have a soft textured, almost powder-like quality that might remind you of talcum powder or something, or like a makeup powder pad in a way. I would say it's unisex, leaning on the feminine for me, and I think it's that lighter rose and the sweetness of it which just feels more feminine, and the ever so slight powderiness. I still think a man can pull it off fine, but I would say it leans on the feminine side. One thing that I noticed about it, or like a memory that triggers, is that it smells quite perfumey, and it's not a word I use very often because what is perfumey, but it smells perfumey to me a little bit. It kind of reminds me of walking through one of those scent shops that have like scented candles and scented body lotions and kind of baskets of potpourri and different perfume scented things, all very girly and in like woven baskets and ribbons and displays and soaps and candles and all that kind of stuff, and bath bombs. It's got an element of that kind of generic-y, perfumey vibe that you get walking through those stores. It reminds me of that. But it's not bad, it smells good. I'm not knocking it at all, but that is a memory that triggers with this. It does have a perfumey kind of vibe that reminds me of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why it feels feminine to me, because it's not men that usually kind of go into those shops. It's a very feminine kind of thing. So for me, it feels feminine because it reminds me of walking through a shop that sells, you know, scented soaps and candles and all this kind of girly bath product stuff. It kind of reminds me of that. I would sum it up by saying it's a immortelle light rose, so it's sweet, it's floral, and it's musky, but with an underlining earthy patchouli, kind of giving it some balls and depth to the fragrance. It's interesting. I like it. I think it's very well done. And if I had to kind of rate it out of 5, which I never do, but I would give it kind of a 4 out of 5. I don't quite agree with Luca Turin that it's a complete masterpiece for me, but that's personally because I don't like patchouli, I don't like cashmere, and it reminds me of a perfumey scented shop. But it's very nice, it smells good. I would recommend it to women. In fact, if I did kind of a women's top list, this would be somewhere in there. I think it is very good for a woman. For a man, and for my personal taste, for me to wear it myself, it's not for me. But for other people, I'd definitely say check this one out. It's worth a sniff at least. You might really like it. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. That was good, eh?